sometimes you have to focus on what you don't need instead of what they're asking you or making you perceive that you need.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as CEO and founder of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. And if you ever need help with yours, feel free to go to strategymeeting.com and grab some time with us to chat. Now, today we have another great guest on the podcast, Tay, and I'm going to, Zvika, is that close?
Zvika, yeah, correct.
All right. So just to give you a quick introduction to Tay, is it Tay or Ty?
Tay Zvika.
All right.
But
I'm
Tay.
always worried I'm going to mess people's up or names up, so I do my best. But it's
Thank you for
a hard
that.
job.
Thank you. It's been a long. I mean, it's been a long journey of different Tyler. But thank you for.
All right.
Tay Zvika. Thanks.
Oh, cool. We'll give you a quick introduction to Tay. He was always hated the fact that Bill Gates came from wealthy parents. So I'm just getting quotes, but did look at it and said, "Hey, proximity to technology causes greatness." So I think that with that, you started or played college football in Mexico, if I remember right. Graduated college in 2016 and was one of 2 recruits that went to Microsoft out of a large pool.
3,500. Yeah, so, Google, Apple, Facebook, they didn't recruit back then, right? It was just Microsoft, and it was like still hesitant, like, okay, maybe from Mexico, maybe a couple talent. So it was a 8-month period of applying in the summer. Maybe you get invited in January next year, right? And out of the 3,500, I was one of 2 of that class of 2007. Yeah.
And we'll definitely dive into that in just a second. So I'll finish the introduction and make sure we have plenty of time to talk about the details. So I think from Mexico, you were one of the first teams that worked on the HoloLens, left HoloLens around 2016. HoloLens at that time was a very secretive process and weren't able to share a lot of details, got burned out, decided you're going to go do something else, had a non-compete that, had to wait out. So went and did something for a period of time. And then after the non-compete ran its course and you were able to kind of dive in and do some of the businesses that you're wanting to do. And then it's been starting there, I think, since March or so. So with that, there's the brief introduction, and we already had a bit of a conversation, but welcome on the podcast, Tay.
Thank you so much. Now, as to your name, Devin. How should I go about that?
It's Devin. Yep. No, you're perfect. So just like you said it. So we're good. So
Devin, thank you so much.
No, sorry, we're talking over each other. But I gave you a brief introduction as to a bit of your journey. But take us back a bit in time. Tell us a little about playing football in Mexico, and then how you got into college and into Microsoft.
I think that if I were to be short as to kind of getting to the real essence of this interview, QB, leadership, so on and so forth. But along the way, there's always this funny items throughout, right? So I kind of really started to learn English because I played in one of the most kind of prestigious schools in Mexico. ITESM is how Google, Microsoft would say it. But as a QB, you need to call trips left, 986, zebra option on one, right? And so that started to really make it very simple as to understand the emotion and how kind of, the margin of error, right? It's a 0 margin of error in some instances right there as a football, and the culture. So you get really into the culture of football, which I'm with you guys out there in the US. I'm a green card holder, so 10 years over there. And so, it's soccer and they're football. Football is intense. College, applicant to Microsoft as a full-time employee, which they call Microsoft College Hire, International College Hire, and got to HoloLens, right?
Now, let me ask one question. Yeah, no, you're great. But one question kind of follow up on that. So first of all, it's cool that you are able to play football in Mexico. But now on the college side, it sounds like you said it was 2 out of 3,500 recruits.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, correct. But here's what I've been thinking as I was preparing to this conversation with you, David, because this is kind of a pivot point for me, right? In conversations, and I know that you mentioned that you didn't want to talk about the pattern aspect of things, but we'll get to that. As far as I kind of recall, I was trying to think about don't being repetitive in a way in which, oh, you need to kind of go with fight adversity and keep it positive. I've always been told you're too short for being a QB, right? There's no way with that GPA you're going to make it to Microsoft, right? From Mexico. No way you get the almost beautiful girl in high school, right? To go out with you, correct? I started to think about.
It's a very. Your odds aren't very good. There's a lot of guys in high school that all want to date the cutest girl. So you're always odds are always against you.
But I was like round in high school. Round. I started. So I was always against odds. But
let me ask you on that, because that kind of dovetails on my question, because you were against the odds, and yet out of 3,500, only a couple of you. So how did you stand out, or how did you rise above the crop to be selected to be able to get the opportunity to go to Microsoft?
I think that's where it starts to get interesting. Is instead of saying I'm going to be a rebel, and as a rebel I'm going to prove them wrong, right? I didn't do that. Or if you may. No, I trust myself very much. So it's not that I'm going to prove them wrong, but I have a lot of confidence. It's not that also. The thing that really kind of got me through the process is I'm going to create my own timeline. So I'm going to think of time and this experience, either high school, college, applying to Microsoft, getting to a product such as HoloLens, getting a corporation as a foreign citizen to the US, really kind of providing something of value that is new to the world. I created my own. I've always, since like childhood, it's my own timeline. You have your own paradigms, you have your own kind of restriction as an adult or as a naysayer or as a hater. That's great. That's awesome. I'm not going to prove you wrong. I'm not going to be super confident and naive. I'm going to start thinking about my own timeline. And that's the first instance in which, as I recall, and as I go back, is what if we could perceive time as malleable, right? Because as per our condition with COVID and all those things, time management is no longer a thing. Time allocation, no longer a thing. How can we make everyone else beyond this interview, which is going great and it's going to be a little bit short, how can we make them perceive time as malleable? Right. So that was kind of my thinking is, all right, so I'm gonna create my own timeline here as to achieving the things that you said that it's very unlikely that I would achieve.
Okay.
Does that make sense a little bit?
Sure, makes a little sense. I still have my question as to how you got recruited, because in the sense that I definitely get the timeline. If I were to look at, that's kind of the initial jumping point off into the timeline of rising above the crop. But if I were to, on the other side.
Oh, let's go back to basics. There's a 3,500 line of people like throughout 3 days, right? I get my resume. The dude from Microsoft says, how would you design an ATM for 7 to 10-year-olds? And I go, why would you need an ATM? Thank you. He does this thing with my resume. Goodbye. And I'm like, what? Did I just I just mess this up? Like, I've been waiting for this moment. The whole 4.5 years of my career. ATM, no. So preparation, of course. Yes.
So you got to finish that story though, because he got okay. So he basically says, "Hey, well, okay."
So everyone else in my college class, the A+, right, the perfect 4.0 GPA dudes is like, oh, you F that up, right? You F that up. I went with huge options, color coding, and just like no more than $5, whatever. I got asked for the next round, 8 rounds till January. Next round, I read the book, How Would You Move Mount Fuji, right? Preparing for those kind of weird questions, right? And I'm like, please do not ask me to solve a Rubik's Cube. Do not ask me for that, right? If it could be anything, golf balls, all those things, right? I get invited for the being critical about the question of the ATM. It's like he refused to, it's stupid to create an ATM, right? Or maybe it has merit, but we should question it first, right? So that was the right answer. Cubics Rube, I'll ask you the question so quick. Here's the next month later. Here you go. Ready? You have 60 seconds, Evan. You ready?
Sure.
Do you know what the Rubik's Cube is?
I do. My son loves to play with them.
All right. And so I freak out like, oh, he's going to pull a Rubik's Cube out. But he doesn't. He pulls a stopwatch and he says, can you see it, Devin? Like right next to your Microsoft, can you see it? The Rubik's Cube? Can you see it? Can you picture it, right?
Sure.
All right. You have 60 seconds, Devin. I'm going to ask you a question and you have 60 seconds. Ready? Ready. Okay, cool. When I finish the question, I'm gonna start the 60-second countdown. All right, Devin. So you know the Rubik's Cube. Now picture a 5x5x5 Rubik's Cube, and tell me how many little cubes are in the outmost outlier layer of that new Rubik's Cube. Go.
I would have said
like,
I would have said there aren't cubes on the outside because on the outside there's only surfaces.
But there's little. Okay, you can do it. But he's like, well, I'm doing this quickly because that was the question. It was like a 1-hour interview, and the first question is like, we spent 15 minutes. Like, no. But seriously, Devin, did you see the cube right there? Like, I want you to see it. Like the holographic cube that is there, way before its time. Do you know that it's a cube made of little cubes of different colors?
I mean, if I wanted to do the math portion, I would count the inner ones, and then it would be a 4 times 4 times 4, so 4 times 6, and then you do the outer layer because you have common ones between there. I doubt that's the answer they're looking for, so that's why I said it seems like
I didn't get there, but this is the awesome part. Journey, and we can speak at the next. I'm hoping later conversations or situations and schools that I've had scheduled is I didn't want skiing for the first time with the family to read the How Would You Move Mountain book, and in that book says sometimes you have to focus on what you don't need instead of what they're asking you or making you perceive that you need. So they're making you perceive that you need to calculate the outmost layer, right? And so I went, I mean, I have to confess, like the first 20 seconds is like, that's easy. 5 times 6, right? Because there's 5.
I got it right though, because I said that I would count the innermost and that you have commonality between all the outermost. So bam,
you had it right.
Pass the interview.
You had it right. Like, what you don't need, but you need to write it, right? You cannot just talk about it. It's like I need to write. I had to write 5x5x5 minus 3x3x3, right?
Right. Or you do 4 times 6 and then you count the outermost layer. But either way, yep.
We'll get to it was like 10 seconds. 5x5x5 parentheses, right? Correctly put as a formula minus parentheses, open parentheses, 3x3x3, close parentheses, equal. Interviewer is like, all right, next question. Tell me about experience in college in which you thought you had figured out a solution to a problem, but instead you figured out that it was just a symptom to a root cause. Tell me, what was the root cause of that problem? You didn't figure out what you took that it was just the first. And what was your method to address the root cause, the symptom, and get to an actual solution? What? Like, that was like also awesome. We get to there. At the end of the day, the almost question was asked, there's many, but
so
are you a politician?
Yeah,
this is the final question for Hollywood.
So fast forward. So you got all the way through 8 rounds of all these weird questions. You're having to think on your feet. They don't give you a lot of time, nothing really to prepare. You get all the way through, and then they say, okay, you impress them to the level that you're one of 2 that they're going to bring on. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and so we'll bring you with a classmate of yours out of 3,500, we'll take you. Keep in mind, the 3,500 is not just my college or my major. There's psychologists, there's like doctors, MDs, there's people from other colleges. They all in from beyond the border south of Texas. From a Mexico perspective, 2007, getting that Microsoft offer, it was a dream. It's like that you've set for life, right? Which I've proven wrong as well. Which is just like, no, I want the next level, right? Because they're pretty. Love them. They keep you in a great bubble. Spa, bonus, stock, this, that, mentors, coaching, all those things. But yeah, so we got to Microsoft, and I started in being perceived as a potential great talent, but I do start in an IT department kind of sorts, right? IT department with the senior kind of leader that sees in me potential to rotate me into office, into product groups. So in Microsoft, you have kind of services, but the if you may, the real talent is in the product groups, which is Xbox, Windows, HoloLens. You know what I mean? People from Xbox, no offense to, I don't know what you're going to do with this video, but no offense to the folks of Microsoft IT or software and people from Xbox, HoloLens, Windows, they do need their laptops kind of maintenance and kind of exchange for other laptops and keep the servers on point, so on and so forth, right? So I wanted product. And I noticed that Xbox was going to be, it was going to be the most difficult one, the sexiest. Everyone in the world wants to go to Xbox War because they think, my interview with Xbox is like, so why? And I'm like, because I don't play Xbox. I don't play games. I don't do that. But it was a time in which Netflix and the kind of app model to Xbox was coming in, right? So I can bring a business perspective from a non-obsessive, compulsive, maniac player to a platform, right? So that was kind of the, okay, yeah, let's go with it. I bring Durango to life, codename Durango, which is Xbox One. I like the challenge of the secrecy and confidentiality, the discipline, right, to maintain proper behavior as a kind of a diplomat. As you speak with business to electronic arts, different third parties.
Now let me dive in on one of those because and kind of fast forward just a bit, just so for so we can kind of make sure to share all of your journey. Is you did that so you got on what is eventually the HoloLens team, which was secrecy. It was kind of top secret, and it sounded like on the one sense, the HoloLens, I think it's a cool product, and there's a lot of other products out there, but just that general augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, all those type of things is a cool project. But you also said that it kind of started to take a toll on personal life and secrecy and not be able to share and working all the time. So maybe share a little bit of how did that, over the course of that 5 years, how you kind of arrived at, okay, I need to make a change, or while I worked very hard to get here, it's not what I envisioned for what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right. HoloLens, which is now March 16, so I'm clear after a few years. I have the plaque, I can share it later, but it had this very kind of modular approach to things. So code aspect was the marketing aspect of HoloLens in the future, right? Code variable, it was the software experience aspect of things, right? But amongst great leaders such as Alex Kipman and Kuro Tsunada, experiences and tech, the device, hardware and software experience, they set up to control the message. So we're going to control the message. For the first, if you were to speak with fellow ex-HoloLens teammates of mine, one of the, for the first time, Microsoft there was no leak. I mean, even an iPhone was leaked. Even a Facebook upgrade was leaked. For the first time, Oculus Rift, Oculus now from Facebook, Morpheus from Sony, did not get a hold of this sentence. Mixed reality and world-locked holograms. That sentence was written 2011. Okay. So, mixed reality, transparent display. So I see my TV, but I also see other things in the display. I used to joke at a bar with people and reporters as to Oculus is better, like the feel, the intensity, the emotion. And I'm like, take your Oculus, put it on. I'll take my HoloLens. I'll race you to the bathroom, right? Let's see who gets there. Like one piece, all good. Not 86 in a way. So they control the message. Controlling the message implies that you need to become someone else to ensure that there's no even a notion of a potential gossip from the wife at the Starbucks next morning to SpaceX bringing to the International Space Station 2 out of the 4 HoloLens that we have, right? Or something like that, right? There's just no way. And as you see the SpaceX explode with all your hard work, you also cannot go back to your wife and say, well, yeah, right? And so you need to keep that on the wraps like nobody's business. And so the perception of people around you from a kind of human perspective starts to shift very quickly. Makes you shady very quickly. And you cannot even brag or get kind of a little bit of consolation out of devastating kind of failure as to the incubation aspect of things. Leaders used to say, innovation, you improve something, incubation, you're creating something totally new to the world, which is kind of the inspiration for my next step, right? Bringing something that is new to the world.
So now, just to kind of continue to move the timeline or the story forward. So you have that, and I definitely get it. I mean, it would be hard. I tell my wife just about everything. We share everything, and there's really no secrecy or no secrets between us. And so to have that, can't tell anybody, have high level of stress, high level of secrecy, always constantly worried about maintaining. I'm sure is a stress on your personal life, on how you interact with people, what you can do, and everything else. And so I think, as you mentioned briefly, you kind of wrap towards the end of the, that experience, and you're saying, okay, can't do this anymore, hitting burnout, hitting, relationships on the rocks and those type of things. And so as you start to leave Microsoft HoloLens and you decide to go a different direction, kind of where did you go next, or how did you make that transition out, and how did you, as you're waiting out the non-compete, what did you do during that period of time?
So on a very kind of straightforward, through HoloLens Xbox, I was the quantitative storytelling guy. So if you needed to know something as far as business intelligence, forecasting through data, understanding the success of a product, of an experience, right? There was a point in HoloLens in which we're doing holograms, we're doing Machu Picchu, we're doing Plaza, we're doing Rome, we're doing these things. And people are asking, the executive producers are asking, are they using it? Are they using this feature? Are they checking this corner of the world? And I push back and say, what if we were able to assess when at which point of the experience they're the happiest, the most frustrated, right? What if we just go for emotions, active users, clicks, kills, wins, points, right? Emotion. So what if we can, and I start to study the device and I say, we have pupil dilation, we have spatial sound. I can make a model. We have data. We have data centers. Um, at some point, that was cut.
Just jumping some word we won't be able to get to your journey. And I want to make sure people hear to where you're at today. Yep. So, maybe to help us
today.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank you for that. So today, COVID crisis helped a lot. I tell folks that regardless of COVID or any other situation, my bet is that we're going to be on a continuous crisis mode worldwide. We've never been so knowledgeable. We've never been so kind of blessed with tech resources, but yet we've never been so confused as to what the right behavior is to engage society, right? So my technology right now is focused as to the health of the collective consciousness, starting with a seat belt through the cell phone that is always there, that just monitors like kind of body language. So if you're distracted at the wheel, right? If you're nodding off, you get alert. So that is like the mom that is sending the most precious thing of hers to the world on the first 16 kind of trip. She gets that, right? HoloLens taught me light. So now we're using light and sound to provide a sense of well-being by manipulating time. It's a multi-country approach, which really the notion as to this interview, I hope that we get there, is that precisely codename HOPE, human-oriented prescriptive emotion. As a BA guy, you have reactive, descriptive, predictive, prescriptive analysis. HOPE caught the attention of the US government within the dual use clause, which is you're going to do your thing with the technology, we're going to do our thing. Patents are all yours, right? And if you look at this face, someone is going to do good and is going to do something else, right? That's where we at. So in this junction, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so, because I think that there's definitely a lot, and we won't be able to unpack all of what you're going to be doing. So if people were to look and say, hey, I want to find out, because I think it's kind of a tantalizing teaser for people then to reach out and find out more, what would be the place to go to reach out, find out more about what you guys are doing, the project and the product?
I would like to do this because, and then I'm going to kind of bring it back to you. I love what you're doing with your firm, and just like disclosure, he didn't ask me to do this, like Devin didn't ask me to promote, but the fact that you're like patent law, right? Patents, like how do we really address that in a realm in which really, can I say something that I do, like, there will be new minerals, there will be new assets that set up a new economy in which patents will kind of be flexible in a way that we've never seen before and be used way beyond royalties or licensing, so on and so forth. Anyway, that said, can you and I discuss that moment? It's pretty simple. There's going to be, of course, a site, but I would like to have a process by which the site is not only to inform. I think the site is not to inform about what else are we doing in a way in which we're trying to lure capital. It's not like that. I mean, the site is aimed to inform. There may be a new breed of startup in which we need to reconcile public interest from governments such as NASA, DoD agencies, and private interest. And the middle ground is will require with how expedite we can do that. And that site will have snippets of audio that will, I think, entice. Can you and I work on after the podcast, an announcement as to the site? I'll give you
that's what I was going to say. It sounds like if I were to do that, you guys are still a bit in process, haven't necessarily fully disclosed to the public, getting ready to launch and doing that. So what's perfect is we do an updated, where are they at now, kind of 6 months later. So that would be awesome to have you back on, kind of give or let 6 months percolate further, or further have things so that we can kind of share now with the listenership and the audience kind of where things are at today, and do that as an update. So I think that would be a perfect transition and segue to when we do that updated podcast.
We have Adobe Premiere. I'll give you the site and the date in 48 hours. You can edit this video. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely release that and let people know where to find out more about us, or about you and what you have going on and what you're doing. Well, unfortunately, we're getting towards the end and I'm also thinking it'd be awesome to have you back on in that 6 months where you're at now, so we can talk about now as things go live. So I'm going to leave this as a bit of a teaser to the audience as to, we'll give you a bit more information as we get it. And we'll also do the 6 months where you at now, and you can see just exactly where things headed and where they turned out. So with that, as we wrap up, I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast. Now, for all of you that are listeners, if you have your own journey to tell and you'd like to come on the podcast and share your journey, feel free to go to inventiveguest.com and apply to be on the show. A couple additional things if you're a listener. One, or make sure to subscribe in your podcast player so you know when all the new episodes come out. And two, leave us a review so that other new people can find out about the podcast. Last but not least, if you ever need help with patents, trademarks, or anything else for their business, reach out to us at Miller IP Law. Just go to strategymeeting.com. Tay, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. We never have enough time to go over everything that we wish we did, but it was a lot of interesting things, and appreciate you sharing.
All right. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye, Devin.